Oh, he didn't say it. He didn't say it this time. He's not saying a word. I can't hear him. Uh-oh.
Good evening, Drew.
Do you think we would do this for a living at this point?
That was totally my fault.
What happened, buddy?
So I've been playing around with some settings. Hold on, my gain's way too high. I've been playing around with some settings to see if whether I can set up something to record both of us off my Vocaster, and I had Loopback running. You know what Loopback is? Nobody knows what Loopback is. It creates a virtual audio interface that you can do shit with, and it was still running, and it was just like, I'm your input now.
Windows decided to install an update when I attempted to reboot. But we're here. We made it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hit me with it, buddy.
Okay. So last episode, you just casually said, "Hey, Paul, buy this book." And outside of some Dungeons and Dragons book, I haven't bought a book or like read a physical book in probably a decade.
Okay.
And you made me buy the most booky ass book that is ever booked.
Okay. Okay, tell me why that is, Paul.
It is first of all, it is large. It is large. It is not I saw paperback. I thought, "Oh, it's going to be a paperback book." No, it's big, it's thick. The font is small, the line spacing is too close together, and you can't fucking change that because it's a book.
Yep. It's an acoustic book.
Yeah, it's floppy. It makes that noise when you hold it because it's too big that it can't support itself. And the book is just fucking weird. But I'm not upset about the content of the book so much as I am about the physical aspects of the book.
About the exigence of the book.
Yeah. Like its existence bothers me.
How far are you into that book?
I've read through chapter 4.
Okay. Are you sort of following what's happening so far?
And also one more thing. I like reading when I go to bed, laying in bed, but my bed experience is optimized for having something that has a backlight on it. This doesn't have a backlight, so I can't read it in bed because I don't have a lamp by my bed because I'm used to having a backlight from my Kindle. I don't like books, Drew.
Okay. I'm gonna let you have this. Okay, I'm gonna let you have this. I'm glad that you're able to get it all out. Now, I assume that maybe you've casually leafed through this book and now you understand why it's a book.
You can't help because it's so freaking big to accidentally open a page and go, "That's weird." I mean, I get why it has to be a book. I just don't like books. This book it is
a book.
It's infuriating. It's too big. The letters are too small. They're too close together. I don't like books.
You need a few minutes, bud. I mean, you need some blood. You need some blood thinners. Like, are you all right?
I'll be all right. I'll be all right.
Okay. The book gets very good, by the way.
Okay. Yeah.
I was reading it. I pretty much read it nonstop. I couldn't put it down once I got to a certain point.
I find it painfully pretentious right now.
Well, okay. I'm not going to go into I'm not ready to go into spoiler territory with you yet. The whole premise of the book is you are reading a found
right.
Manuscript analysis.
Yeah.
You are reading a found analysis of somebody who was writing basically like, not a biography is not the right word, but like a study of a particular film, and it is being annotated by someone who also found it. So those two threads sort of weave through the book. Yeah, it gets weird. It's going to get a hell of a lot weirder before it gets better. I'm going to tell you that right now. But it is a phenomenal book. For those of you that didn't listen to the last episode, we were talking about the book House of Leaves. I assume you figured out why it's in color now.
Yeah. Like Yeah, yeah. Mm, uh, it's. I mean, I think to me it feels like the author's just being an absolute like pretentious like d bag. Uh, but I'm giving it a chance. I'm going to read it.
Well,
I don't.
it's the author's character. If it's that
Yeah,
Zampano character,
yeah.
just so you know.
I mean, like the author,
Hmm.
Mark Z, whatever his name is, the guy who actually
Okay.
wrote it. Uh,
Okay.
uh, I'm gonna keep reading it, but it's gonna take a long time
Because it's a book.
it's a book, and I can't read it when I normally would read it, so I have to remember to read it when I normally wouldn't read books. So it's gonna go slow. This book's probably gonna take me like a year to read.
I think once you get to a certain point and your curiosity gets the better of you, I think I do agree with you that this book was recommended to me, and it dips into a subject that I have always found very fascinating for reasons that I'll get into when we talk about it more in depth later. Um, because I had well, never mind. I'm not going to say,
Okay.
but I really enjoyed the subject matter. But the first few chapters are like, man, this is like really pretentious, really slow. I totally get where you're coming from.
I get I get a feeling that like as like the events in the movie pick up the movie that doesn't exist pick up
Right.
the things, but like I get a feeling this is gonna like have a twist or a turn, so I'm gonna keep reading, and like yeah, like I think I just need to get past the premise that this is a work of fiction about a work of
Fiction.
fiction.
Yeah.
uh,
That is also annotated by a fictitious
yeah,
person.
yeah, yeah.
So yes, there are many layers.
Yeah,
There are many
yeah,
layers at
yeah.
work
I don't
there.
want to say too much without giving. Like, I don't want to get into spoiler territory either. But like, yeah, uh, yeah.
I thought for sure you were going to come on here and tell me that you hated the subject matter.
No, it's. I mean, like, I can see where it's going. Like, I had my. I mean, I don't want to. Okay, I had my first run-on sentence.
Hmm.
Where, like there was like one sentence for like 1.5 pages. I'm like, ooh, okay. Like
Yeah.
like all right, I kind of get where this is going. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry that I
But
ruined your life. It's
you
interesting.
did ruin my life.
Well,
Now I got a book to deal with.
Well, it's funny. I was just talking to somebody at the gym the other day about how we're on the cusp of recording episode 200. And they said to me, it's like, wow, it's so cool that you guys can meet almost every week and have so much to talk about. You guys must know each other really well. And the only thing that I've learned from that time is that I don't really know you at all. And I didn't know that bringing the joy of printed word into your life was going to send
No,
you into such a state.
I like my Kindle. It's better than books in every way possible. Every single way possible. It is better than books. So
I
mm, mm,
okay. My wife
my life.
bought me a Kindle.
Mhm.
I have used it a few times. The only time I use any e-reader, and I almost default to using the iPad for this, is when I'm traveling, because I don't want to throw a book in my book bag with all my other crap. When I'm at home, I have many bound volumes on the shelf behind me, and I like looking at them. They all are special books to me.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I don't know.
Nope.
Maybe it makes me weird.
I mean, they still sell them, so someone must be buying them. But
Yeah, me apparently.
they're not for me. And having reading an actual book for the first time, like a physical book, just reinforces my desire to never own
Just
another
think
book
about
again. Like,
just
no,
think about how strong your wrists are going to be from holding that physical
it's
object.
so floppy, Drew. It's so hard to hold. It's too big.
You could have bought the
I
hardcover.
could have bought that. I should have bought. If I would have known if the paperback was tome like, I might have bought the hardcover to have a little extra support.
It is very tome like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
let's move on.
Okay.
I don't
Mhm.
like how this is making me feel.
It's all your fault.
It's all my fault. I did it.
Oh.
Okay. More follow up. I passed my exam.
Hey! Hey, good for you. Congratulations. I saw that on the Mastodon. You tooted it.
I tooted it. Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit worried about it, but I wasn't. There was actually a fair amount of like coding syntax on it, which I mean, in the practice exam there was some. I just didn't know how much of this there was actually going to be. But it's done. That is like the last official thing that was like on my checklist to do as part of like my official onboarding, and like work is like really starting to pick up at a pretty good clip. So I have one more exam that everybody in the company has to do by October, and this has more to do with like machine learning and stuff like that. So I'm sweating that one a little bit more just because that's not my traditional wheelhouse, but we'll see how it goes. Okay. Dub was last week.
Dub this week, technically.
This week, sorry. Yep. And because it fell on the day of my exam, I really didn't get to watch all of it. We have a lot of I put things in here that I want to talk about, but why don't we start with the big announcement?
Yeah, Apple unveiled, what is it called? Reality Pro, their spatial computing platform. It's an augmented reality device.
Isn't it Vision Pro?
That's right. No, Vision. Yeah, right. Vision Pro. Yeah. I said. Did I say reality? That was.
I think you said reality.
Yeah, that was the rumored name. It is Vision Pro. It's Vision Pro, Vision OS, spatial computing. Okay, just so you did not watch the video then, Drew?
I watched them after the fact.
Okay. I had to get this out of the way because I love it so much. The video is talking about this headset that has an external battery pack and has a 2-hour battery life. They said a phrase which I think has to be the most Apple phrase ever uttered. Ooh, they said this device has all-day battery life when plugged in.
Title. I'm sure they have all-day battery life. Okay.
Yeah. It's, come on, like lasts all day when plugged in. Like, yeah, no shit.
You know what's utterly fascinating to me is like I'm on the webpage for the product right now. They're very conspicuous to not show you what the battery pack looks like.
So apparently, like on the hands-on area, they had like, well, not the hands-off area because you couldn't touch it. Like at Dub, like they had the battery pack sitting there just so you could see what it was like. And I guess it's not super big with the thought that like most people are going to put these like in a pants pocket or something, and they don't want your pants falling down. Which I respect. Thank you, Apple. Thank you for not embarrassing me in front of everybody when I'm already wearing my headset. Wow, there's a lot going on with this headset, Drew. There's a lot going on. Yeah. I mean, so what are your initial impressions of this
new
platform?
I think what needs to be said here is that unlike other headsets that are on the market, it's really easy to call this like a head-mounted display or a virtual reality device, but really it's an augmented reality device because I mean, essentially it's goggles, right? You can see through it, right?
Well, they're screens.
Right.
Yeah. But it's displaying what you would normally see if it was transparent. But it's
correct.
Yeah.
And like my Quest 2 does that kind of, where if I double tap the side, it will show me like what the cameras around me see. So if I'm like in VR and I need to see like something that's happening around me, I can double tap that and it gives me like a black and white display. That's not necessarily new, but like this is designed to continue to project the world around you and just overlay things on top of it.
Most like the headsets on the market now, except for some like really weird specialty stuff, they're VR, they're virtual reality devices first. They are designed to make you think you're in a different place. And like they barely showed off any VR stuff in the keynote. Like that is not what this is about. This is about displaying what is around you and then putting virtual screens or applications or whatever in the field of
in your space.
Yeah. Right. Like that is the point.
Yeah, and, like, what the video showed and, like, it's like people standing at desks or at work or, doing something where they're looking around and they have, like, a web browser open, like, maybe in their field of view, and then they'll look to the left and maybe, like, FaceTime is happening or news readers are happening. Um, I think the technology is very compelling. I love that this has a total, like, Apple type vibe to it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool.
No controllers. You control it with looking at it and pinching your fingers.
Yep.
So,
which I think would be a little bit weird because I'm so used to using controllers to interact with things or my mouse. Yeah, I mean, I think it looks pretty cool. It looks like it would be comfortable to wear. I think it has some interesting applications, but I can tell you right now that this is not for me.
yeah, it's
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
So I think that is so. Not to bury the lead, as everyone knows, this device is $3,500.
Right.
And I think it's $3,500 to keep people from buying it. I think
interesting.
I
take.
think a big part. And granted, it's an expensive device. It's a premium device, but I think there's an extra $1,000, maybe even $1,500 tacked on this device to basically say, "Don't buy this yet. This is for enthusiasts. This is for developers.
Right.
This device is not for you. Please don't buy it. You can buy it.
You can totally buy it,
but don't."
Right.
I think that's what part of the price is. I could be wrong.
I think you're right. I think this is for, I'm not even sure this is I'm sure some enthusiasts will buy this,
yeah.
But I almost feel like there's an entire professional segment here that is destined to maybe get their hands on this first and use it to help augment their work.
Yeah.
But there's nothing in my life, as cool as this is and as much as I would like to have it, I could more easily justify something like a Pro XDR display or like the monitor you bought versus spending the money on this. I'm very curious to see where it goes. I want to see some actual applications in the wild. I want more people to write about it and review it. I mean, listening to some podcasters that sort of got to see it, it sounds like it's super cool and the specs on it are ungodly. And to put things in perspective, right? Meta makes the Quest line, and those are anywhere from I think they just had the price drop. We talked about that last week. But their high end VR headset is $1,000.
Right.
A Valve Index with all the accoutrements is well over $1,200. So yeah, I mean, this is $3,500, and I think you're I think you're right.
So starting at because I'm sure they charge more for different size. I guess the whole thing is modular, so like you can get things so like the light shroud fits perfectly, and you cannot wear glasses with it, so you have to have like prescription lenses put in there. Not all prescriptions work, I guess. So like it's starting at. So
yeah.
I'm guessing that by the time you get some customization and some lenses in there, it's probably even 4,000 if not more. So
right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you had one of these, how would you see yourself using it? Would it be for gaming or would it be for like communication and media consumption?
I probably if I had one of these, they popped down in my lap and it was out, I'd probably use it just for work. Like I could see myself having like a Teams windows open and then doing like, you can look at your Mac and then you have a 4K display of your Mac. I could see myself working on my Mac with it and then having other native Vision OS applications like Teams or maybe some Excel documents or Outlook. That'd be great. Open Jira in there.
Boards.
Yeah. I could see myself using it at work and kind of replacing my monitor, my workspace with it. I mean, if you traveled a lot, like I also could see that would be very compelling, where you could not have to worry about you just throw your Vision Pro in your bag and suddenly you have this virtual workspace to do everything that just travels with you. Like that could be really cool, but
I think to be continued, right?
I do think the 2-hour battery life is going to be a problem
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things they did talk about is like, hey, you can watch movies on this thing. But like most movies are like 2 hours, if not longer. So like by the time you fire this up and like open up Apple Movies and pick your movie and watch it, like, is it gonna die like when you have like 10 minutes of the movie left and suddenly you're like, ah, fuck, gotta charge the I don't know. Yeah. It's not gonna come out till next year. They've got like 6 months to polish it and to hype it and get developers hands on it and get apps for it. So like, yeah, again, like, yeah, we'll check back in a few months and see where this thing is. It is easy sitting right here in June saying that this is not for me and I'm not going to buy it. But, like.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, buddy, I'd be I mean, I like VR. I've actually been using it a little bit more with some of the stuff here. Even before I saw this announcement. So, I mean, I'm intrigued. I think it's cool. I think they've got some cool tech.
Yeah.
They're taking a slightly different tack than some of the other companies that have made some headsets. So, I'm really intrigued to see where it goes, but I'm with you. Like, I'm not rushing out to put like a deposit on one of these or anything.
No, not at all.
So, but there was other cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There was other cool stuff out there.
Yep.
And I put some things in here that I want to talk about.
Okay.
I mean, but
no, go.
Are there any on here that like I didn't get that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think you covered. I think you have all the big stuff on there.
Yeah, so Apple did end up announcing a new 15-inch MacBook Air with an M2 processor, which again, we sort of suspected. We talked about it last week. I think that's super cool. I mean, I think MacBook Airs are really neat. I just always wanted the bigger screen, and here it is. But
here it is.
But also along with that announcement, they have debuted a 70-watt USB-C charger.
Yes.
Which is crazy because there are computers that have bigger displays, bigger batteries, and potentially could run heavier workloads than, like the MacBook Airs could because of like thermal density and thermal throttling and things like that. I don't quite understand why they decided to release a 70-watt USB charger because of it. Because if you look at the product listing, it's like it says the 70-watt USB-C power adapter offers fast, efficient charging at home, in the office, or on the go. It is compatible with numerous USB-C devices and charging cables. Apple recommends pairing this power cable with a 13-inch or 15-inch MacBook Air with M2 chip, or a 13-inch MacBook Pro, or a 14-inch MacBook Pro. Use it with a MacBook Air with M2 chip models to take advantage of fast charging. So, okay, there's a lot in there, right? Number one, there is no mention of any other MacBook Pro, right? There's the 13-inch MacBook Pro, which isn't there a 15 or a 16-inch now that has an M2 chip?
Yeah, there's a 16 with an M2. There's also the 14-inch, which I think came with. It says right here, you previously came with a 67-watt adapter.
Right. So 3 extra watts. So it's interesting that that's what they're basically saying.
Yeah, I have this. When I bought my MacBook Air, I paid for the 67-watt adapter.
And the other thing that's interesting in here is it's implying that you're only going to get fast charging with this power adapter. I don't know how true that is. Or maybe I'm just reading into this.
Yeah, I don't think. I'm not sure how much fast charging they support with like their Thunderbolt ports, but I knew they do with like the MagSafe ones.
Got it.
So I think that's like, dude, when I plug my laptop into the MagSafe thing, like it charges so fast. It's almost scary.
I mean, look, my personal MacBook Pro, which is only an M1 only. I charge that like once every other week right now because it gets pretty light use for like my business work or something else that I'm doing, like, when I need a Mac that isn't my work computer. And I mean, the battery life on that thing is so fucking good. Like I was down. So here's the interesting thing. When I had to take that exam, I I had to use a personal computer because it had to install some software, like some really, really gross like test taking software, right? That
Yeah.
like took like total control of my computer. And I didn't have like because of like VPN requirements and things for like work, I wouldn't have been able to use it on there. Like they warned us not to even try.
Neat. Okay.
Yeah, so like I had to install it on my MacBook Pro, right? And I wanted to make sure my battery was fully charged and ready to go. And like I was like at 28%. And like 30 minutes before my test, I'm like, oh, I should probably plug that in. And I was like charged, like it did a perfectly fine job of charging me up and getting me where I needed to be. But it was just so weird to see them release a whole new power adapter when I just assumed that all the chargers they had were going to be able to handle this. Those 3 extra watts, man. I don't really know what to think about that.
3 more watts.
The other announcement that I thought was super cool is they announced the next version of macOS, Sonoma. Some cool features in there. The one that immediately caught my eye was desktop widgets because I get pretty turned on for widgets.
And what I like is the idea that you can add widgets from applications running on your phone onto your desktop Mac.
Yes.
I think that is real freaking clever. I am all about that.
Yep. Being able to have like the weather up at all times. And because now, I mean, I like an animal, I have to click up in my upper right-hand side to see my widgets, but having those on the desktop is pretty cool. They also announced a new game mode for macOS Sonoma that is supposed to like, I guess, make games run better. I don't know.
Increases like the Bluetooth polling rates to reduce like input lag. It increases like decreases the lag to like Bluetooth headphones. Deprioritizes background processes. Gives the game all of the juice. Yeah, and they also like, I mean, I don't want to pre-lead here, but like they also kind of like low key kind of were like, hey, we're kind of serious about games. I know we've been talking about games on Mac for a long time.
Yeah, I've got that in here. I've got that in here. We'll talk about that next. We'll move that one up. But a couple other things about Sonoma that I thought was pretty cool. They are bringing the same screensavers from tvOS to Sonoma, which I love those things. I will just sometimes turn on my TV in the living room when I'm like in the kitchen because you can see my entire house.
There is a way
from the first floor.
There is a way to get that now if you want
to
your Mac. Yeah, there's a third party who basically, because apparently those videos are like well-known URLs. Apple TVs.
Put that in the show notes. I want that now.
Ariel. Here we go. It's a GitHub project.
Oh.
So I will put that in. So if you want it today, you can have it today.
Interesting. Ariel screensaver. Compatible with Mac OS. Okay, interesting. Well, anyway, I mean, they're bringing it officially into Sonoma. Safari is also getting profiles, finally catching up to every other browser ever.
Yeah,
so I can have
not a feature I would use, but glad it's there. Yeah.
I use it a lot, actually. So, like, on both my personal Mac and my PC, I have browser profiles for, like, my personal stuff and then like a work profile that like all my passwords and stuff for like different Gmail accounts are saved between them. Like it's pretty good for that type of stuff. So I'm pretty happy about that because that's one of the reasons that I don't use Safari a lot in like my Mac life is because I like having this profile. So that'll be pretty nice to have. Okay, so you mentioned the gaming thing. Again, this was sort of buried in the announcements, and there were other websites that sort of covered this. But apparently, macOS Sonoma is going to make it easier for developers to port existing games to macOS.
Yes.
I read a couple articles about this, and I'm not completely sure I understand what's happening here. Okay, like, there's a toolkit for it, or like an SDK, or
so there's two kind of separate things that they did. One is they have this porting toolkit, which basically allows you to run your Windows games through kind of a translation layer, which I'll get to in a little bit, to basically say like, hey, this is what it's going to take. This is what this is how hard it's going to be. This is what kind of performance you get. It helps you like recompile your shaders for Metal. But that whole part of like, hey, running your Windows game on a Mac to see how it will run. What they did is, so obviously people are kind of familiar with Wine. Wine is kind of productized on the Mac through an application called what was it? I should Mac Wine crossover. So for the longest time, the crossover folks have been saying it's going to be really hard to like, get DirectX 12 support for Wine working. And Apple basically said, hold my beer, and released an open source patch for Wine that you can install right now today via Homebrew. On top, you install Wine, then install this, and you can get this layer. And it's not particularly user friendly. You have to run lots of esoteric shell commands, but you can do this right now on a non-Sonoma Mac. And apparently it's really freaking good.
Okay.
So all the videos of people saying we got Elden Ring running or got Cyberpunk running, that's what they're using. They're using this this patch that Apple wrote to Wine to get DirectX 12 running on
I mean, that's so compelling. I mean, because that's like the one thing, right? Like if I was able to play Destiny 2 on a Mac while I was traveling with like at 60 frames per second.
I mean, like you're not going to get like the GPUs in the Apple Silicon Macs. They're not gaming GPUs. They're not spectacular. Like, you're going to get a couple generation to goes performance out of them, but you can play a game with, low to mid settings, 60 frames a second, probably just fine. So yeah.
But I'm wondering if there's optimizations, right? When you're going from like a big beefy, 64-bit OS down to like going to like Apple Silicon and its OS, like can those GPUs actually punch above their weight because of that?
I mean, I think if the developers take the time to port their games to Metal, they're going to get better performance. But the performance that they're getting out of a lot of modern games without having to do that, they're basically saying, you pretend it's DirectX 12, we'll convert it to Metal for you. And I mean, it's kind of what the Steam Deck does too, right? With Proton. Essentially it's the same idea, right? It's not an emulation, it's a translation layer. The fact that exists today, and these games like Elden Ring look like it was running pretty good, and the developer put no effort into it.
Right.
They probably could like just make like even without porting it to Metal, I'm sure there are tweaks they could do to make things optimize for the Mac. So
that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, it's a very interesting that they kind of just low key was like, hey, we're taking this kind of seriously now. Now there's a real like a real story to bring your stuff over. And another big announcement was Unity supports Metal out of the box now. So
correct. For those that don't know, Unity is basically like a game development framework, right?
Yeah.
Or like a 3D development framework. I don't know how you call it.
It does 2D and 3D. It's a game engine. Yeah.
And you can also use it to build it's a game engine, but it can also use it to develop like with Unreal, right? Or other graphics engines, can't you?
I don't know if that's true. I don't know enough about it. Maybe you could. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of cool games out there that were built on Unity, and it's pretty interesting.
It's very big in the indie space. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Because like it's got a fairly decent like royalty model if you want to like capitalize on it. Versus, I mean, Unreal on the other hand, like the royalties on that are crazy.
Yep.
Okay. Couple other announcements. WatchOS getting a pretty big update.
Yeah.
I'm pretty juiced about this.
I am too. Like that's the beta I want to run. I want to run the watch. And I'm sure I have to run the iPhone beta to get the watch beta. like, I want to play with that. Like, so the idea is like, instead of having this weird dock thing, in addition to your watch faces, you can basically have like collections of widgets, which I think is real smart. Like, I like widgets. More widgets, please.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, my wife is really happy that she's going to be able to get Snoopy watch faces.
Yeah, I saw that. Gross. Apple, why you gotta do me dirty like this?
I'll take that over Disney any day. I'm not a huge Disney person.
But have you like looked into those? Like, they're kind of the Snoopy ones in particular. The Snoopy and Woodstock.
Yep.
They respond to environments. So like, I guess if you get like a loud music event, Snoopy would put his ears over Woodstock's ears, or like cover him with his ears cute. If it's raining to keep him dry. Like, yeah, that is pretty clever. Like, I'm never going to use it, but that's pretty. It is
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna catch you with it on one day though.
No. I like very fussy analog watch faces on my digital watch.
And now you can take a trip to the power zone with your watch if you're a cyclist. There's new like workout metrics and things. I don't really care about that.
You know me, I'm all about the fitness.
You really are. It's so funny, right? Like I wear my Apple Watch, the big fancy boy
Ultra,
one, the Ultra. I wear that one a lot around the house during the day, and I also wear it to work out in. The problem is that I can't wear it for every workout. And we talked a little bit about this. Like when I'm using my pull-up grips, I can't wear that with my watch. My there's not enough space on my wrist for both of those things. I also, if I want to wear like wrist straps to help with my wrist stability, if I'm doing a lot of like front rack squatting or stuff like that gets in the way. It also sets off the alarm way too much. So I can't wear it for every workout, which is kind of a bummer. But I do wear it to the gym a fair amount, and I like tracking the workout stuff to see how many calories and things that I'm burning. So I like it for that capacity, but I'm not a cyclist. I don't like cycling at all. So I won't ever get to really use that particular feature. But yeah, big watch OS updates coming that I'm pretty juiced about.
Yeah.
Last thing that I had on here to talk about is they are dropping Hey from Siri.
Good for them.
Good for them. I'm not a Siri user.
Me either.
It's just not very good. I'm sorry. Like, Siri's just not very good. If I'm going to talk to a digital assistant, it's going to be the lady in the tube.
I don't use any of them anymore. All of my Amazon stuff is all away. Even the HomePods that I bought aren't plugged in anymore. I don't use them I don't use them. I do occasionally ask my phone how to spell a word. But other than that, it's really
the only time I use voice commands is in my car. I don't have a wake word. I literally hold a button on my steering wheel and it beeps, and then I say the thing that I want.
Yes, same here. Yep, hold a button, then Siri's like do 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 do.
Yep, that's pretty much it. Now I will say this: I'm sort of with you. Like, I don't talk to the lady in the tube at home. I don't talk to Siri at home. But I was reading about a project, and I don't have a link for this. I'll try to find one before I publish the show notes. But it's getting to the point now where you can get a Raspberry Pi, you can put a microphone on it, and you can talk to you can create a hail word for it that it'll recognize, and then forward your request to like ChatGPT, and then take the response from ChatGPT, and then use text to speech on the Raspberry Pi to then read the response back to you. Now, there's significant latency there if you're going from like a Raspberry Pi, translating your text, your speech to text, sending it over the web, sending it to ChatGPT, waiting for the prompt to materialize, hoping it gets it all correct, and then getting it back and then translating it back to you. But as somebody who has the ability to run LLMs locally, I'm starting to play in that space. So there's a couple projects out there that kind of walk you through how to build the Raspberry Pi portion of that, because I already have the large language model portion built. So I want to try that. Maybe I will start to use that more in my daily workflow versus like anything like Siri related, for instance, or Alexa related. But
Okay.
that's kind of where I'm going with it. But it's interesting they're dropping Hey from it. It's like, we'll make it easier for you. Well, I mean, could you make her work better?
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's just not good. Any other announcements that really struck your fancy?
Not that I can think of. I mean, there's some other minor stuff like AirPods Pro are getting a new mode where like it'll switch between noise canceling and transparency mode for you automatically, kind of.
Will the AirPods Max do that?
No. So far, no. They have not. That has not been announced.
Fantastic.
Maybe when the AirPods Max 2 comes out.
Great.
If that's ever a real thing. So the only product it works for is the second generation AirPods Pro, which I don't even own. I only have the first gen, like a pleb. And yeah, some other stuff, but really, like, that was the big stuff. Like, some updates to all the OSs, some new features. Like, I'm really excited about the widgets on the desktop and the Mac, and watchOS 10 looks so cool to me. But yeah, that's really it. Yeah.
Did they say when these are going to drop? I mean, it's usually in the fall, right? When the OS
it's usually
drops.
in the fall. Yeah.
What so about like watchOS?
Usually watchOS ships when a new version of iOS comes out. So usually those are pretty lockstep.
Got it.
iPad OS, if it follows the same trend, is usually like a few weeks, if not like a month after that. But yeah.
All right, let's end tonight on a pretty big bummer. But I think it's something we all sort of knew was going to happen.
Not a surprise at all, but it's official.
Apollo is shutting down.
Yeah, June 30th. And not just Apollo.
Like, a lot of things.
A lot of the third-party Reddit apps are like we're out. Like the big ones on Android, some of the others like smaller ones, they're all like, nope, we're out. But like, if you read the post from like Reddit did some pretty shitty things.
Motherfucker brought receipts.
He did.
He really did. So what we're referring to here, and I didn't know that this was a thing until like probably around 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon. I actually opened Apollo for like the first time in like a week, and there was a thing that says, hey, we're shutting down. There was like a pop-up in the app that said like, hey, we're shutting down. Click here to learn more. And it basically takes you to the post in Reddit where the author of the app says, look, this is a follow-up from what we said before. We're shutting down. And oh, by the way, there's a bunch of like internal Reddit shit that you should probably know about how scummy they are. And like he goes into like some pretty behind the scenes stuff, which, I mean, listen, your awesome app that is adored by millions of people is being shut down by some really greedy corporate fuckers that also talk shit about you. Yeah, I'd probably air my laundry. Like I would probably let it fly. It was really gross. It was really gross what they did.
Yeah, like accusing them of like trying to blackmail them into buying Apollo or giving them a bunch of money, not realizing that he's Canadian and Canadian is a single consent recording state, so he recorded the entire conversation.
Yep.
And he's like, I got the recording, buddy. Like,
yeah. And like I'm looking on like the website right now, and it's just. There's so many people that are just so bummed out about it.
It is, yeah.
I wonder how many comments are on this thread now. 9 hours ago, Apollo app. It has 11,000 comments.
Yes.
11,000 comments. And it's just really sad. Like Christian really made a cool app, and like I didn't realize that he had actually interned at Apple, and I didn't get to watch the keynote, but they calls out like, yeah, like Apple even featured our app in the Vision Pro announcement, like, because it's a really good app, right? Yeah. So it's just really scummy, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly like Reddit's got new owners. They're trying to kill third-party apps without doing a Twitter and killing third-party apps. It sucks. Like, I find like I love the idea of Reddit, but their website is awful.
Yeah.
And their mobile app is awful.
Yep.
So to me, like Apollo is Reddit. And if I can't use Apollo, it's gonna be like Twitter. Like, fine, I'm just not gonna use it. I'm just not gonna go.
Really gonna go.
Yeah. So it's a shame because there are some subreddits I really do enjoy it. And maybe those I'll still pick up and look at, but like I do most of my Redditing on my phone. And without Apollo there, it's I'm not even sure I have the regular Reddit app installed.
I don't.
No, I don't either. No.
It's there's I'll tell you what though. I'm sorry. I'm sort of scrolling through the Apollo subreddit right now. There's some pretty good memes in here. Some really good memes. There's a picture of a guy crying behind his Apple Vision. Like there's some pretty good memes happening in here right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss my little puppo that I used to feed in there.
So that is a separate app you can download and still use. Apparently he makes a pretty decent living, like a side income just with that app alone. But he's like one of those developers where like, I'm excited for his next thing. Like I follow the guy on Mastodon. Like he's a really talented developer.
Yeah.
You know, he's clearly capable of designing a product and running a business. So like, it's shitty that like, they're not giving him any time to like get off, you know, to like figure out what he's doing with his life. But
yeah, 30 days, man. I mean, it's like, get out before the end of the month. I mean, it literally feels like an eviction kind of.
It does. Yeah. Man, it's
what a bummer.
What a bummer. What a bummer.
Very big bummer. Yeah, I mean, that's all the content I had for this week. I mean, the only other thing I wanted to say is I'm sorry that game night sort of fell through last weekend.
Fine. It's not a problem. Like shit happens. We're all adults. Shit happens.
Yeah. I mean, everybody sort of like crashed out at the last minute, but we will be playing this Saturday.
I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
Hell or high water. Yeah, we're gonna play Power Grid, which is always a staple. And if time permits, maybe we'll get Thunder Road to the table so you can experience that.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Yep.
Cool. Well, I mean, if you factor in the shenanigans at the beginning, we're about at a regular episode length here. Why don't we go ahead and wrap?
Yeah, this is fine. Hey, thanks for listening. We're on the internet doing theirbest.com. We have a Mastodon thing doing their.best. I'm there at Paul. Drew is there at Pittsburgh. You can follow us. You can send us some toots. Okay.
So, episode 200 is next week.
It is.
I think we're gonna try to live stream it. We're gonna record it for the first time ever with us being together. We're gonna order a bunch of really bad food from Culver's. So be on the lookout for toots and tweets, or I mean on the website. I don't know the details about where you can watch us if you have any interest in that at all. But yeah, big milestone for us where we've done 200 of these motherfuckers.
Yep.
So that is coming. We're gonna have a good time.
Next episode. Oh yeah. Can't wait. Cannot wait. It's gonna be so fun.
All right.
Thanks for listening.